Da, 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 da.
Yeah, so I'm actually introducing, come on up. The PSTA staff and the MPO staff, we actually work very closely together on transit planning projects and transportation planning projects in more general. And right now, the MPO, and you may hear a number of these things over the upcoming months, is kind of starting a lot of different transit-related studies. And one of these, they're calling the transfer area analysis. And so I won't get into what that is because then I'll ruin the presentation for Brett. But I will introduce Brett Burks with the MPO staff, and he will fill you in on that. That's okay.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm from the MPO, Board of Pinellas, which is the land use and transportation entity for Pinellas County. So with that said, we kind of like to go on the note of where can we mix transportation and land use into kind of one project, and this is how we kind of have developed the transfer access analysis, where we look at areas countywide that serve as a transfer area for bus service, and we kind of see where these areas might be either strengthened or redeveloped, and it's really about how can we move people more efficiently and throughout the county, along with kind of developing these areas for safety, kind of get you from the door of the bus to the door of, shopping centers and that sort of thing. So with this analysis, it's kind of moving in phases, and right now we're doing a kind of like a geographic screening of the current bus transfer areas, as well as where might be a good place to put a future transfer area. So I wanted to present this to you guys today to kind of see, since you guys are the Transit Advisory Committee, to see if you notice any areas that may be unsafe or areas that you see a lot of potential for, I connect through this service and this service. So where do you see the potential maybe a future route service that would really better serve you guys and really be really play on the safety aspect, because I think moving forward there's been a lot of discussion about the dangers of kind of either crossing a road, if it's a busy intersection or something like that, and how can that be kind of improved upon, both where the infrastructure or the facilities exist now and maybe in the future. So I would like to hear from you guys if you have any ideas. Yes.
Belcher by the Long Center.
Belcher Long.
Yes. I will come down Belcher and I will use the railroad track to cross.
Oh no.
Because unless you have to go up to Sunset Point or all the way down to Northeast Coachman to use the lights, there's no button to hit. There's no. And a little farther down there is from the tracks. There is where somebody started to make construction. So there's a cut in the sidewalk, and I use that too. But it's right where the median is, and I'm protected by the median. But it'd be really nice to get. We talked about this before. A button to stop traffic so you can cross.
Like what they have down on Beach or on Gulf Boulevard. Yes.
Yeah.
Those things would be so. What governs that? Where those things happen? Where they put those sort of walkways that are just available when someone needs them, but normally are not walkways. Who governs that?
I think that's mainly the local governments kind of have a big say in who puts those in. And actually, fun fact, I think somebody in St. Petersburg invented those things. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what I heard. Yeah. From
wow.
Their staff. So I think it took off there and kind of spread throughout the county. So, but I know along Gulf Boulevard, these are all different cities. But I think Gulf Boulevard is FDOT. Oh, do you?
Actually, a lot of the time it depends on who the jurisdiction of the road is. There are special also with forward analysis. So a lot of the time we coordinate or we work with and the local governments work with, but for example, Gulf Boulevard is part of that state road. And so that's where a lot of that comes. And we can take your feedback on things like that. But one of the things we're really looking to do today is talk about where routes meet, where local routes meet, to try to understand what's around the meeting point and how we can get better from that meeting point
selling is Countryside Mall. And it is a wonderful opportunity to connect with different buses. However, there is only one safe way to actually get into the mall from any of the bus stops, and that's the bus stop on the south side of the mall. And I think, I went and talked with MPO about, what makes our, what can we do to help you make our ridership worth something to those businesses that need to really try to make it easy for us to get off any bus stop and get into their shopping centers. One of the things I know I keep asking for is how do we as a group create something that says this is the value of a PSTA rider. This is how many of us there are. This is how many dollars we spend. This is how many trips we take. That type of thing. And would that be helpful for all of you as you approach a Countryside Mall?
Yeah, we would take in, consideration everybody's input, and especially the ones who ride transit. I think that's the most important kind of component.
I think there's a misnomer that the riders of the PSTA are lower income or are and not necessarily of a means that they can go spend, not higher expendable income, and it's just not the case. I mean, of course there are some of those riders, but I think if we put a better face on who the rider of the PSTA is, as far as, like Gloria was saying, show average income, show, hours worked, show where they come from, where they go, where we're spending, how much we're spending. If we could maybe have a piece put together that would demonstrate what the rider of a PSTA bus typifies, that could be used to approach a Countryside Mall or a Publix at Granada Plaza or somewhere like that to show them that there's value in creating easy access to their venues. It could be really helpful.
Yeah, that's when I was in school, I took the bus, public transportation all the time, and it was really convenient. And it was kind of the system was set up that it was incentivized, and it made a huge difference. A lot of people would take the bus, and here I would say it's probably not so much. And so, it's too car oriented. So, with that being said, we really like to know about the routes that might be strengthened or things that are really important from like transfer center, A to B. Where do you see it's really could be strengthened, the ones you take the most, or maybe ones that have a potential or maybe are not safe. You would take them, but they're just not convenient or safe enough from the bus to the door, or from the door of the bus to the door of the store. I kind of forgot to put this. So again, this is all means to improve accessibility throughout the county. It supports redevelopment through the transfer area centers, whether we have mixed. We really like the idea of capturing mixed uses, like whether you need to go to your doctor's or your store, pick up something at Target or something like that. And we want to give people greater multimodal options. So if we're taking more people off the road, getting them to ride transit, it makes it a shorter commute time for everybody. And of course, safety, as I mentioned. So right now in the phase one, we're talking with you guys and kind of seeing, getting the word out there, seeing getting any input and seeing what you guys have to say. And like Heather said, we had met previously and kind of gone over some inputs for a formal analysis process. If you have any ideas of what things we want to look for that might be helpful, or that would be helpful. Some of the later phasing will be kind of coordinating and reaching out to local governments, kind of see if there's any projects already going on. Maybe St. Petersburg has a redevelopment project going on, or Clearwater at their downtown area. I know there's constantly projects going on, so kind of coordinating with government is going to be really crucial in the future for us. So right now, what we're looking at is kind of three main inputs: diversity of land uses, like what are the uses around the transfer area, for example, Countryside Mall or something like that. What type of, I don't think that's but what are the amenities close by that kind of serve you when you arrive? Density is something that we want to kind of strengthen the density nodes throughout the county and kind of see where that has potential, as well as diversity of land use types. So, does anybody have any questions or input? Yes.
As we have ideas, like, because I think a lot of people, we're just hearing the plan now, and we're saying, let me think about where those points are. Do we reach out to you, or do we reach out to the track committee, and then the track committee gets back to you with that? Or,
you can email me directly. I have my email right there, bcburks@fordpinellas.org. We would be very receptive and very open to hear any comments or questions, or if you have any formal input, that would be great. So,
I would request if you email Brett directly, if you would copy Heather on that email and myself as well, just so that we can track the input as well.
Yeah, you're all welcome to email any of us on the planning team or give us a call anytime for 5 minutes.
Super. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Oh, I was just, nothing. I'm just advancing it to the next thing.
Are you?
Oh, I'm just being helpful.
Okay, I didn't know if you were wrapping up or if you.
Oh.
Okay, super.
Sorry.
Okay, great. So the first action item, we do have a quorum now. The first action item would be to approve the June 14th meeting minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
Yes.
And do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
And a second? Dave and Elizabeth. Dave first, second Elizabeth seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Super. And now we have James and Debbie.
Yeah, and Ross Silvers.
And, good. And Ross doing the presentation on the DART Paratransit Services contract.
Okay, so for those who don't know me, my name is Ross Silvers. I'm the mobility manager here at PSTA. As such, I'm the manager over our DART service and also over our transportation disadvantage service, and also getting involved in helping out with the new projects that we're doing involving Uber and United and CareRoute, providing some same-day service. So what we're here to talk about today is our paratransit services agreement. This includes DART as well as a few trips that are done through what's called the East Lake Shuttle and Transportation Disadvantage, but the big majority of them are all for DART. Together, it's essentially PSTA's largest single contract, dollar-wise, so it's a very big contract. And what paratransit means, just for those who don't know, paratransit refers to door-to-door service. And so DART is our demand response transportation service. It's a service that we provide that's required under the federal government, under the Americans with Disabilities Act. They require every transit agency in the country who operates any kind of public transit to offer what they call complimentary ADA paratransit, which simply means that you have to offer a door-to-door service for people whose disabilities prevent them from using your regular accessible bus system during the same hours and the areas and the same type of service that they receive on the bus, for example. So that's what we do. At PSTA, the DART service, the average age is about 77, so it's a lot of seniors who are on the program, but also some younger folks as well. Again, all have disabilities. It's a very vital service to the community. We, for many years, have been a leader in contracting out the service. We started over 20 years ago when most operated it in-house, and we have seen considerable savings through the years in the millions of dollars on an ongoing basis. You can see the numbers here, for example, for Hart by comparison. So we're very proud of being able to provide a quality service and still using our private partners to help make that happen. So James is going to talk to you about the process we've gone through in this procurement and what's been involved with that. And then Debbie's going to talk to you about some of the financial impacts that have been involved with it. But first, I just want to ask, are any of the members of TRAC actual DART users?
I am.
Sure.
I wondered if you would just share maybe just one quick statement about your experience with DART for those who aren't familiar with it.
It's a wonderful service. It gives me the independence to go anywhere in the county. I love being able to go shopping. I love being able to go see my friends. The drivers are great. And when you call and make a reservation, the reservations are personable and detail-oriented. It's a wonderful service.
Now, we contract out the service. If you are someone who's not a wheelchair user, then you use Yellow Cab. If you are a wheelchair or electric scooter user, you're using Care Ride. So you use Care Ride, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, great. And who was our other DART user? Oh, okay.
There's three, I think.
Number 2.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll do it. I also use Care Ride. Not all the time. I mean, like when I come here, I use Care Ride. When it's raining, I can't take my chair on it, and so in the distances. But I use fixed route buses and Care Ride, and I'm very, very pleased with Care Ride as well. I just wish that we could find a way to have it be available, evenings and weekends and so forth, because basically I can't go anywhere easily unless it's during the week.
That's a great example. I'm going to bring up a couple things from what you said. First is the piece about evenings and weekends. Folks who use DART have the same hours and area limitations that the folks who use our buses do. So just as folks who use the buses are limited, folks who use DART are limited. They're even more disadvantaged though, because if you're using the buses and you're ambulatory, you can walk around like I do, and the buses aren't running, I can hop in a friend's car and go ride somewhere. If you have to ride in a wheelchair or a scooter, you don't have that ability.
You can have it. It's a fortune if you have to do it privately.
Yes, that costs a great deal of money for private. The other thing you mentioned that's I think really important to note is that you use the bus as well. It's a common misconception that if you're using DART, you can't use the bus, and it's actually the opposite. We actually encourage people who are DART eligible to use the bus when it's safe and convenient for them to do so. So, for example, I myself am legally blind, so I can't see the traffic lights to cross the streets. Now, when I cross at the intersection by my house, I know the traffic pattern is easy for me to do. I'm really not going to be anxious to try and do that on US 19 or some parts of Roosevelt Boulevard. It's pretty challenging for many
None
of
of us are, that's right.
It wouldn't be safe for me.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So if I were a DART customer, which I'm actually not, then I would probably want to use DART when I had to take a trip that involved crossing Roosevelt. But when I'm just going up or down 4th Street, which I know very well, I would use the bus. It's more convenient because it runs all the time. I can hop on and off whenever I want. I don't have to have a set reservation. But DART is a critical service when safety and accessibility are an issue. Who's our third person? Yes, please.
Elizabeth, everything they said, and I have feedback from a driver that Palm Harbor is limited for people going to church on Sundays, but we all know it's based on
When there are buses, right?
when there are buses, so that begs the question, we need to expand the bus system.
Yep.
Everything's beautiful, make friends with drivers. There's one thing, and it's happened a couple of times, when they come early, they're banging on my door, and we talked about this. We're not ready to go before the pickup time, so don't be smashing down the door.
I don't think they should ever be smashing down the door.
Well, it
probably.
feels like it to me from inside.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I wanted to, everything's perfect, lovely, but when you show up early, wait patiently. I know you're there, I can hear the beeping. That's it.
Thank
And
you.
other than that, it's a beautiful, beautiful service, beautiful people.
And
Dave?
I appreciate that. That's
Dave,
great.
did you indicate that you used DART?
Dave?
some?
I had used this guy.
And when you used it, you were using with Care Ride or Yellow Cab, or was it back in the days we had the choice program?
Yellow Cab.
Yellow Cab. Okay. What was your experience then?
You really want it?
You don't want to.
So it was not great.
Okey-dokey.
No, I had to stop using it because they were just unreliable.
And James is going to give you some examples to give some examples of how our customers have had challenges, that even though they overall achieved positive on-time performance, that they created for our customers a feeling of unreliability for the times when they did not succeed in their service. And so that's kind of where we're going to in talking about the changes that are coming ahead. James, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, thank you, Ross. Hey, good afternoon, track committee members. James Bradford, Chief Operating Officer, PSTA. So thank you for being here and to listen to us talk a little bit about this process. And I know it's a topic near and dear to a lot of folks, kind of want to know what's going to happen, what's going on with the future of the service. So as Ross mentioned, one of our largest contracts here at PSTA at over $6 million a year and probably going to be steadily climbing every year, over 300,000 rides every year, hundreds of rides that we deliver each and every day. So how we got here, nearly 5 years ago in July 2011, and we came before the board post the CHOSE program where we had over 5 different contractors that people could kind of choose from, and we were whittling down that. It was a nightmare to administer and kind of keep track of rising costs. And so we ended up with our 2 current providers, Care Ride for the accessible or wheelchair side of it, and of course Yellow for they use a lot of taxi sedans, but also passenger vans as well. And one of the things that was even said, 5 years ago is, hey, listen, we get it, it's important to us. We know PSTA has to be fiscally responsible, but we also like the quality. There are a lot of folks that echoed their compliments for the wheelchair provider as well. So we ended up with both. One of the unique things that we looked at, and this was even said 5 years ago, and I was reviewing that board video. Care Ride, the company uses employees, so it's one mission, one goal, to perform excellent paratransit services under the DART program. And so you have employees, you're incentivized by company benefits, you come in, your goal every day is to run PSTA's DART service. And then we are on our other side, our ambulatory side, you use independent contractors. And it's mainly used with all independent contractors, taxi cabs. And the challenge is there, and while hundreds of rides are performed every day, do I want to take this DART ride? I'm out there, I'm in my taxi, I want to try to make as much money as I can. If I can go get the airport trip or the beach trip and it's more lucrative. And so those are some of the challenges posed. Do you have enough of the DART, specific operators out there to operate our service on the ambulatory side? So we saw that. And the other thing that we saw on that side came in the form of complaints. We heard from you. We heard from our customers. And so a lot of this shaped how we went after this procurement. Now, the current contract is up September 30th, 2016 is coming September. So we look for a new service with our new provider to go into effect October 1st. And so the procurement team, which worked very hard on this with Ross Silvers, our mobility manager, worked over the past year to really get the scope of work down, to figure out what we want to require. How do we make this about the customer and really increase and upgrade our standards of what we're looking for? One of our biggest drivers of this, you notice the bottom solid line of complaints come from our wheelchair side. Really none at all, right? It's fair to say just 0, and this is looking back 12 months. Now the problem with the zigzag line above is, our ambulatory service, and it's disturbing. I mean, one complaint is too many. One complaint, if it's our fault, is too many, certainly. You're looking at 30, 40 sometimes coming in a month. And the theme of these complaints is not just drivers going too fast and, the vehicle didn't smell the best or whatever. It's, where's my ride? Where are you? I have an appointment. Like, respect the fact that I have an appointment that I have to get to on time. I'm ready to go home. Where are you? Feelings of being stranded. And you don't want to hear your customers, echo those sentiments. And so it was a growing problem. So that was really a driver for us. And as you can see, those were the complaints. Multiple hours lateness. I mean, it's unacceptable. It became unacceptable to us. So when we were going after this and saying, okay, what are the challenges for this new procurement, we realized we need to elevate quality, reliability, dependability. And I won't read all these to you, but these are some of our enhanced performance measures that we put in the contract. So if you came to bid for this service, you knew this is what we expected of you. And because of that, we also know you get what you pay for. So PSTA was responsible and tried to put more money in their budget because they know, and we knew, we wanted to expect more, we were going to have to pay for it. On-time performance, you see up there in the top row, very important to us. Reliability, safety, of course. Again, and you can read them for yourself. But these are just some of the measures of how we determine, what we determine was going to make an excellent paratransit service program for us. The other thing that we did was we wanted to make sure we had recourse. So if you're not performing as a contractor, you're not meeting our expectations, we wanted to ensure that there was recourse on our end to at least go to the company who was operating the service and say, listen, there's a problem, and you're going to see it in the form of dollars, that you're pretty much, you're here to make money. We're going to take it away from you if we're not seeing this. And you can read some of these for yourself. On-time performance, again, number one, we're saying, hey, be there 98% on time or better, or if not, we may charge you a percentage of the invoice that you're billing us. We may charge you $50 per late trips greater than 30 minutes, upwards of $200, and it adds up. No missed trips. For missed trips, what's our standard? No missed trips. Don't miss a trip. There's no excuse for it. If you expect someone to come pick you up, it's not good for Ross or myself to call you and say, it's not going to be there. Reschedule your appointment. So, we looked at the criteria, and because of that, we also expanded, and we were proactive expanding our liquidated damages section. Now, conversely, on the flip side, we're also interested in partnering with the contractor. We want them to succeed. We don't want to have to assess liquidated damages, because if we're doing that, that means the service is subpar. So if you're performing better than 98% or better, if your vehicle revenue hours, you see that divided, believe it or not, this actually will cost us less. If you're operating at a high efficiency, now the time and labor hours, if you convert that between Ross, myself, and the DART staff, having to investigate and call the provider and then call you and apologize and write letters and send out courtesy passes, that time is money. So it's actually an efficiency for us. If you're performing well enough, we can actually get some of these incentives. So that was another good thing. So we want to, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie, and she'll tell you a little bit about the other portion of it as we close it out.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Debbie Leas, Chief Financial Officer here at PSTA. And our procurement team supported Ross and the DART group in doing this, and we went out for a request for proposal. We received 4 responses for the wheelchair side, the accessible side, and 3 responses for ambulatory. It was a 2-step process. Once we got the proposals, we read through them, we evaluated them, and we created a short list. Everyone went on to part 2, which was a personal presentation to the team. Everyone but first choice got to do that. And we took a look at a lot of different areas, experience, cost, innovation, all sorts of things, and also how they could perform in other areas of the country. What we came up with was a proposal that came within budget, not only for next year, but the next 5 years. It came in around $35 million for the 5 years. We're recommending $36 million because I know all the statistics, as I'm sure Dan Gill can tell you, is that the Pinellas County area is only going to grow in population. So we are within budget, which is important to me. And we are recommending from the staff side, and today is an action item for you, for Care Ride to be the provider for both the accessible, which is the wheelchair, and the ambulatory, which is non-wheelchair, for a contract for up to 5 years for a maximum amount of $36 million.
Yay!
Okay, I guess we have one form of feedback there.
And we would actually like to celebrate this new and improved contract at the board meeting. After the board takes a vote, we're going to recess, go out into the lobby, have a little event, a little press event, picture taking. I've heard some healthy snacks are involved. I voted for cookies, but I got voted down. So we're hoping that some of the customers will join us on the board meeting day for this great event. But today the action item is before you to take a vote to recommend to the board proceeding with Care Ride for the next 5 years, up to a maximum of $36 million.
I can't wait till we'll make that motion. Let's go with Care Ride.
First, let me thank you for that. But does anyone have any questions?
If we bring Ross back up, anybody has any questions? Of course,
feedback.
all the cookies and everything subject to board approval. Fingers crossed. But then, yes, we'll move forward. Any questions from the group?
Gloria?
The ambulatory, I see all the Care Ride buses that are the wheelchair buses. the ambulatory, do they have, just sedans that they would?
That was my question.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and you both can, so part of the proposals, and Kira put in to do both services. And so, we had, there was second round was a live round interview, pretty much with Kira. They said, okay, how do you accommodate being able to do ambulatory? So they laid out a detailed plan of bringing in additional vehicles, additional brand new, top of the line, lift equipped vans, but also exploring with some sedans, possibly even Prius to be, Toyota Prius, possibly, we'll see. I don't want to overpromise on their behalf, for fuel efficiency's sake. So yeah, they would bring in some sedans to meet those needs, and then plan a full expansion of, hiring folks and kind of transitioning in a larger staff to accommodate the influx of customers that we come in.
Right, the new vans that they showed us looked amazing. They had not only areas for the wheelchairs, but also for anybody who's not in a wheelchair to sit. So they'll be able to combine some rides in there to get efficiencies.
And these are full seats with the back and all that.
Yeah.
So not the bench like they have.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. Anyone else?
Dave's thinking about taking Dory down.
Actually, I don't know if it's a foolish question or not.
Please ask.
Have you ever considered using Uber as like, if the dart's not on time, you can select an Uber and cover it for it?
It's funny you should mention that, because Chris Cochran is going to do a presentation to you shortly talking about how we are expanding use of Uber in some new ways.
Okay.
And we actually put in a grant that would involve, we put in for a grant we haven't heard back yet on, that would involve being able to use Uber for some dark trips.
Oh, good.
You are thinking very progressively down the right road.
See, that wasn't a silly question at all,
Not
Dave.
at all. It's brilliant.
There are no silly questions. Anyone else? Okay, great. Well, I would say we have a resounding motion on the table from Kim
Yeah.
to accept and endorse the presentation as it was provided today. Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
Gloria? Okay, great. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Super. Thank you for the presentation. And it looks like Debbie gets to stay up there and be joined by Cassandra to do the 2017 millage rate proposed service improvement.
Yes, I thought I'd stand up here until I got the pictures, but I guess today I'm going to give you a little brief update on the budget process, which does include the millage. We do the budget, we work on it, it seems like all year. We started in around February, March timeframe, taking it bit by bit and working through, so we bring it to the board for final, I will say, review in August with votes and public hearings in September. So today I'm just going to talk about our projections for the current year we're in, fiscal year 2016, that ends in September 30th. Talk about next year's budget, 2017, that we're proposing, and also ad valorem tax use and maybe increased service. So if we take a look at what's happening in this year, because what happens this year helps us to base what's going on next year, we are having a good year so far. We take a look at line 3 on here. We are anticipating at this point in time of having a surplus in our budget of $767,000. Now our revenues are below budget. They're unfavorable. Our fares are down, but we've had saving a lot of money on expenses. So that's why we have a bit of a surplus that we're going to be able to put in reserves. Now we anticipated in this budget to set aside $2.6 million in this budget. So between the two, we'll be able to put aside $3.3 million, almost $3.4 million into our reserves. This is our 5th straight year of having a very healthy financial picture of substantial savings. But it isn't just about the money, it's about all the accomplishments that have happened so far this year. We've had tons of successes. I won't go through them all, but there's only one that we haven't quite gotten to yet, and that's board training. And we actually did several workshops instead, but that's something that the board is looking at. For next year, we are focused on outreach to our customers, potential customers. So in support of that, we've added 2 new positions to the budget. One for community outreach specialist and one for a media coordinator. On the more mundane side of life, we found some savings in our printing of schedules that we were able to then put that towards improving our website, specific marketing campaigns on routes, and then targeted branding and community outreach. In addition, as we develop the budget for next year, we always benchmark ourselves against similar organizations. We're part of the American Bus Benchmarking Group. Makes sense, ABBG. And with ABBG, that helps us to focus on areas where we need continuous improvement and build on the areas where we've got strengths. One of the areas that we need to improve in is training. Despite the fact that we've put a lot of effort into training our maintenance staff over the last couple of years, we still only rank 17 out of 19 in the American Bus Benchmarking Group survey. So we have in next year's budget $200,000 set aside for training. That's a 26% increase over this year. Some of our exciting new programs are PSTA University, which are all the different classes and conferences that we go to. We're tracking it now through our payroll system. And then Leadership PSTA, where we are going to be taking the, what do we call them, Brad? I want to say up-and-comers, but they're the
high potentials?
Hypos, yes.
Hypos.
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 No, the hypos.
Yikes.
And these are going to be our future leaders here at PSTA, and we'll be doing almost a year-long class with them to get to know every aspect of PSTA. In addition, as you know, we've been talking about buses and maintaining, which is our biggest capital asset, our buses. So we're increasing by 10% next year's budget our maintenance for buses and facilities. And we are also on the capital side, that is also our focus is buses, buses, buses. HART, on the other hand, not only is talking buses, but they've got about $10 million in their budget for other items. They get support in other areas that at this point in time we do not, to help with their bus procurement, from service transportation planning funds for buses and county funding. Another area that we want to focus on, that we'll be talking about more on, is we came in 13 out of 19 in filling our seats. As you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The more span of service, the later night service, the weekend service, this is what drives ridership, especially in areas where you've got a concentration of population. We're going to be talking about using the ad valorem, which is our property tax, to be able to do that. Some of the things on the property tax side is our property taxes are increasing from this year's projection to next year by $2.9 million. That has helped us to balance our budget in next year. As I mentioned, we're increasing money for parts by $500,000. Diesel fuel we anticipate to go up. We're looking at North County service expansion, $250,000. The salaries and benefits are up $2.9 million as we forecast. And other expenses are going up around $800,000. So as we take a look in the whole picture of things, next year we're balanced, not by a whole lot, but we are balanced by $78,000. That's the third column over. That's without changing our ad valorem. So our ad valorem is helping us, this is doing so well, to make up for fares being down, expenses going up, come to a balanced budget. So if we increase the ad valorem tax, it'll actually help us out by giving us another $1.1 million that maybe we can use for increased service. So 17 is looking good, very strong. We're identifying items in our path forward to concentrate on. We are focusing on areas of continuous improvement. And again, we are now looking to, if we go and increase to the maximum millage of 0.75, giving us another $1.1 million, what could we do with that? With that, I will turn it over to Sandra.
Well, I know what you could do with it. one thing that we want to give our customers is service. And we've heard from people time and time again that what they want most is expanded night and weekend service, and we know we can do that with our current bus fleet, so that doesn't necessarily impact the capital side. The other thing that we hear from folks is that they want increased frequencies. So our planning team sat down and took a look at what are the areas where we could create the most consistency in our service. So we took Debbie's numbers and said if we increase the ad valorem to its cap, we could look at extending weekday hours on heavily used routes. It means taking a look at some of those places where buses connect to activity centers and say what's happening in that activity center. So let's say like Countryside Mall, and say, well, we have some heavily used routes that go to Countryside Mall, but they don't go the whole length of the mall hours. And so how can somebody get a job there if they can't get home? And so we took a look at those kinds of things. We also took a look at service consistency. So for routes that are on the weekends, do we have Sunday service on them? And if we have Sunday service, do they match the Saturday hours? Do those Saturday hours match the weekday hours? And can we get some routes that are now running at 2 hours on the weekends frequency, can we get them up to a minimum of 60 minutes? And so we started with that and said, first, can we get everything that we're running already up to 60 minutes? Then do we match Saturday with Sunday? And then do we match Saturday with the weekdays? And so how can we create that consistency? He said if we make these changes, we go ahead and accept the increase in the millage rate, that would start after our work is finished for our October run bid, so we would be able to institute these new changes starting in February. So our recommendation from the staff is to look at first some weekday service extensions. So for the Route 78, which goes from downtown Clearwater to Countryside Mall, we'd extend that a couple hours later. For the Route 59 on Overton Road, we'd also extend that a couple hours later. And the Route 14, which runs in South County, also a couple hours later. For Saturday improvements, the Route 78 is now shown in green from Clearwater to Countryside Mall. Increase that on Saturday to 30-minute service. For Ulmerton Road, Route 59, again, also to 30-minute service. For the Route 73, which goes from Clearwater through Seminole, get that to 60-minute service. And for the Route 52, which is one of our core routes, improve that to 30-minute service on Saturdays. And then on Sundays, Saturdays, extend those service hours for these routes, plus the Route 7, a couple hours or a half hour, depending on what the route is and where it's going to. And a chart at the end. So Sunday improvements that we're recommending in terms of frequency is, again, that Route 78, improve that to 30-minute service. Again, that's a very important route going from downtown Clearwater to Countryside Mall. And so getting that to 30-minute service on Sunday would be a great improvement. And then looking at some of the other routes in South and Mid-County for the 11, the 14, and the 23, get those to 60-minute service. And then all over the county, looking at a number of routes that we would extend 1 to 4 hours, depending on what they're running now. Again, this is trying to create some consistency across Sundays, Saturdays, and weekdays. So this would allow these routes, which now the latest one runs till about 7:30, would now get all of these routes to at least that, and even past that, almost to 9 o'clock. So that's a big difference for a lot of these routes. So here's the general summary of what we're recommending for North County, the Route 78. Again, this is getting a lot of improvements across weekdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And then for the Route 19, improving that Sunday trip to, from 6 o'clock to 8:30. For the Route 52, changing Saturday to, again, extend that to 1 hour. The Route 59, taking that to 11 o'clock on the weeknights and almost 10:30 on Saturday. The Route 73, having it be 60-minute service, we would pull back and have their last trip end at 7, but go from 120-minute service to 60-minute service. So that's a pretty big jump in service. The Route 11, the last trip now is at 5:15 on Sundays, and we would extend that to almost 8:30. And the 18 is going from about just after 6 o'clock to just after 8 o'clock.
Cassandra,
Yes.
I hate to interrupt, but just so
That's in
everybody
your
knows,
packet, yes.
this is in
Can't
the
read it.
extra piece,
Sorry.
not in your main packet. It's in the extra piece, all this information she's giving you. Sorry, I just watched everybody
Yeah.
flipping,
There's
flipping,
a lot of
flipping.
detail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Thank you, thank you.
Sure.
Then again, on the south end of town, weeknights and looking at extending to 10 o'clock, and then on Sunday, having those 3 routes go past 8 o'clock, almost to 9 o'clock. So that's what we would do. And I think it creates some real opportunities for people to have evening events, weekend events, really get to the heart of what we're trying to do here, which is get people where they want to go.
Questions for Debbie or Cassandra, either one? Elizabeth?
I'm impressed. This is the first building, or one of many first building blocks to expand it, so you up the availability of rides, you increase the fares, then you get more funds to increase a little bit more, then it's more money, increase the fare. It's going to start to tumble. That's how I see it. It's a good first step.
We know that frequency is number one to getting people to ride.
Yeah.
And that does improve our fare recovery. But, you know, the idea here is not just to focus on that, but to really focus on getting people a full day's worth of trips.
I know, like, with the 7-day bus pass, it never made full sense to me. Like, I never bought it. Like, I was always like, either I'm going to buy the month or pay per day. I don't know, instead of it being like 7 days, so they might incentivize people to buy it, but that's 7 days concurrent, but at least 7 trips. So not everyone rides every day. You know, they might need it for one day, they might stay home one day, or one day they have a friend who's going to ride. That just seems to me like it would get people to buy it more, and you get some of your friends.
I agree.
That's a fair policy discussion that we can have later. We're trying to make our fare policy simpler. That's why I went to concurrent days. And we will, I think, probably next month, we'll bring to you the new app, which will be starting in September. And we are going to trial a 3-day pass, but it will still be a concurrent pass for 3 days.
Dave?
Can I have 2 things?
Sure.
Are we doing any kind of public announcement of this, media, giving this out to the media?
If we get the approval to go to the millage cap, there is actually, in order to have the discussion of the millage rate change, there is a series of public meetings and public hearings. So there'll be public hearings on the budget in September. There'll be 2, I think there'll be evening meetings in September. So we'll have that, but we'll always talk about what we'll do with that extra millage while we ask for the amendment.
What I'm thinking of is when I'm watching the evening news, I like to see one less car commercial and one more PSTA commercial.
Yay.
That is a
We all
good
agree.
point, yeah.
We agree.
Because, I mean, it drives me nuts to sit there and watch the evening news. The other thing is, I own a home there, so I pay property taxes. The tax that goes to PSTA is insignificant on our property. I mean, it just really is not that much. I always thought that bus routes that service business areas, like a certain area, like on 59 and 52, the 18, the businesses that are on that route should have a higher tax rate that goes specifically to PSTA, because we're providing them more demographic, more customers, and now we're increasing output.
I'll give you the county commission schedule.
I'd love to read it to them.
So, I think we figured out, Chris, then, I think it was, if we went ahead and did this, it was something like, to the average homeowner, an extra $1.80 a year or something. Is that, we should get that, we should go look up that number again. Yeah. So, it really is, it's one of those things where everybody does a little bit, nobody has to do a lot, but it has a very, as you can see, a very meaningful impact to people who are in this.
Cassandra, can either you or Debbie kind of address the ad valorem piece and the fact that it's just never been fully utilized, as I understand. We've never reached the cap, and that's what you're asking to do at this point. Can somebody kind of
Right, so we're
address some of that?
in our special act, we're allowed to levy up to a .75 mil, but every year the PSTA board has to tell the county commission what they are planning on levying, and then it has to go to a public hearing. Am I doing this right? Okay. I figured I should practice.
Yep, we have to notify in the beginning of August the intent for like .75. Now that would be the maximum, whatever number we put out there for the millage, we're .7305. If we go to .75, we can't go obviously above it because it's our maximum. If we put out there in what they call the trim notices, which is what you get if you're a homeowner, whatever that is, so let's say we came back at .7305, I cannot go any higher than that. As we go through the process, we can always back down. But so once we put out in the trim notice, if the board votes in the direction to go to .75, after we go through the public hearings and the board votes, they can vote for it, which will increase, or vote against it and stay at the same service fee.
So they have two votes, and they have to do them every year.
So it's ultimately decided by the county commission, correct?
Decided by this board.
By this board.
The
Okay.
PSTA board.
Okay. Interesting.
But the county commission can turn it down?
No.
Oh,
Again, the PSTA board is an independent board made up of county commissioners and elected officials, including one right behind you, city councilman from Clearwater, Mr. Johnson. And they vote every year on the millage rate that is set for PSTA. And as it's been described, state law in Tallahassee created this cap that PSTA's millage rate for public transit can never be more than 0.75 of 1 mil. If you look at your property tax bill, the biggest amount you pay is for the school system, which is, I think, more than 6 mils. And then your county and city are well north, 2 or 3 mils each. And then we're down there at the bottom at 0.73, let's go to 0.75. So last year there was a very close vote ultimately at the PSTA board by 1. The millage was not changed. So, but we've definitely been doing a lot more outreach this year than we have been, and no doubt the track committee certainly, and then all the other riders are saying that they would like more extended service.
Well, I think if you can equate the results of what that increase will bring, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Any more questions for Debbie or Cassandra?
I just had a quick question. I could learn by reading schedules, but which route currently has the longest operating hours?
Which one has the most?
Longest
operating
hours.
During the weekdays.
52 or 92?
Yeah.
Times last pickup is. I'm just curious what the latest bus out on the road on a weeknight is.
Oh, it's generally about 11:30.
Wow. Where does that go? I mean, we get done so early in North County, it's like 11:30.
I think it's the US 19 bus.
It's a 19.
Wow. Dave?
I'm sorry.
But it wouldn't be the last trip, really, when you read the schedule, it's not the last trip on.
Right,
It would be the last
depending where you're on the
trip.
route too.
The 52, what I used to like to take that to the race games until I figured out that the last bus left so early going back north that I had to leave like in the 5th or 6th inning. And I think maybe it should probably be 11 o'clock instead of what, 10, maybe even midnight, because there's a lot of people that would take the 52 to the race game, or the 18 actually.
Are you a fan of Brad Miller on the team?
He's being very quiet over here, though, you have to admit.
We're trying to have video of 2 Brad Millers.
I think that's an excellent point, Dave, though. Seriously, it is.
The other thing is that I'm really frustrated a lot of times because I drive Uber, and I drive about 35, 40 hours a week. There is not a single person that gets in the car that does not agree with me that Pinellas County needs better, more frequent, and increased mass transit. And the other day I took somebody up to Odessa. Why is there not light rail that goes up? What's the name of it? Veterans. Why is there not light rail in this county? And I think we're probably the only major metropolitan area in the United States that doesn't have light rail. I think that's true. And on a positive note, and I'll shut up.
No, that's fine, go ahead.
Okay. I saw in the paper the other day where we're going to have one fare for all the buses in Pasco, Hillsborough, Pinellas.
Yes, we're working on that.
Awesome.
That is great.
That is awesome. That's a huge step forward.
Super.
This is an action item.
Yeah, unfortunately, we just lost our quorum. So that's why Brad and I are looking around trying to figure out what we're going to do.
Get her back.
Well, we lost 2 of them, so we're not even close at this point.
Yeah.
And we don't have alternates here to fill in. So what do we do? Sir?
We can take it as under advisement.
Yeah. We've lost 2, James, so it really, we can't. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know Gloria had a time commitment at 5, so she had to go.
I think you as chair or whoever's going to be making the report to the PSA board can note the comments, note what the track sentiment was of the committee members are here.
Maybe a consensus discussion as opposed to a vote.
Yeah, yes, we can do that.
I mean, I guess we could also do a roll of who's here as far as opposed to 4, so we have a concept of consensus. Can't say it.
I'm sure we can work that out. I mean, that would be good. We can report.
I'm thinking that would be the best way to go.
Huh? Are there any concerns?
Yeah, does anyone have any issues against what's currently being discussed? I guess that's the first question. No? Okay. Yeah, let's do a roll, I think. I'll just go through the names and do a roll to make sure that we are in consensus with this. So currently what's being proposed, do we have any further questions or discussion over what Cassandra and Debbie have proposed today? No? Okay. Then I'm just going to start with Dave, and if you would just say agree or don't agree. Okay. Elizabeth?
Agree.
Kim?
Agree.
Agree. Carson? And Julie?
Agreed.
And Richard?
Agreed.
Okay. I think we have consensus then, that in support of this particular item. So, thank you, ladies.
Yeah, consensus, yes.
We have one final item that was an action item, but we can see about if there's consensus. We have, I believe, how many members left from Dunedin? Sandra, take it away.
I'm sorry I don't have these up on the big board. There's been lots of discussion about the routes in Dunedin,
That would
We
be
brought
these two
to you
sheets.
last time,
Before and
the changes that we were recommending for, our, service change for February, and all of those changes, except for those covering Dunedin, were approved by you and the board last month, and we said to the board that we would bring back, these routes that serve Dunedin to take another look at how to do this, in a more efficient way. And we've had several discussions with community leaders over the last couple of weeks, and even today, making some changes into what we would recommend. And so we'll put this up on the screen for maybe tomorrow for the planning committee, but this is just hot off the press for you all. We are still recommending for the Jolly Trolley Coastal, which you see on the red. In the proposed map, this would become a 7-day-a-week service. We would continue to serve Ozona on Friday nights, Saturdays, and Sundays. And you'll also notice this would continue into, you go south on the route, into downtown, covering the entirety of Main Street. And then south of there, for the spring training season, we would have a deviation to the Blue Jays Stadium, across on Lyndhurst, Douglas, and then back to Edgewater via Sunset Point. Our next recommendation for the Route 61 is to bring it up from downtown Clearwater on Douglas, come across Union, and go up Patricia, and then continue the route up to Michigan and the rec center there, as well as the high school, and then come across 580 to Countryside Mall. The Route 66, we would leave primarily as it is in terms of the route itself, but make it a limited stop, limited service route, so you would have 3 trips in the morning, 3 round trips in the evening, and those hours would then, as I mentioned before, would then go to a 7-day-a-week trolley service, so that could be revenue neutral. We had lots of discussion about service on Douglas, and our latest recommendation is to reroute the Route 78 from Milwaukee and move it to Douglas. So come up Milwaukee to Union, and then up Douglas, all the way to 580, make its way around to the hospital, and that's the green route, and then to the mall. And then the Dunedin Palm Harbor connector, we are recommending the extension of that past the mall to serve Safety Harbor, as we have moved the 62 out of Safety Harbor. So those are our current recommendations for the service to Dunedin. And this will have a little additional cost for the new Route 61, as we are not cutting anything out of the Route 61, but we are extending it to Countryside Mall. So that slight increase was what you saw in Debbie's presentation as North County improvements, $250,000. I believe is some magical savings that you can see.
Would that change any, Cassandra, if we take that north loop out, or reduce the north loop to St. Christopher?
Yes.
Any questions? Input, feedback? This definitely looks much better, and thank you for taking the time to go through all of this and address the changes, because I think this is going to fly a lot better than it has. And I have to say, just for the track, that they've been very kind in allowing me to give a lot of input on North County, because that's where I travel the most. So they've included a lot of feedback from me as well. So that's why they value this committee, because they know that we're the people out there on the front line. So they really have listened. We don't have a quorum, so we can do the same thing that we just did, I think, for the other, is if there's Are there any further questions or discussion on this item? Okay, let's just do a roll, starting with Dave, saying that you agree with the changes or disagree with them.
I agree.
Okay, Elizabeth?
I agree.
Ken?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Julie? Richard?
Agree.
Awesome. We have consensus on that. Thank you, Cassandra. Just as a reminder, I would highly request and encourage, just from what we've experienced this afternoon, I appreciate all of you guys being here. I just want to remind you that there is an attendance policy in this committee, and the ones that are here and the ones that are always I'm preaching to the choir is what I'm doing, but we do appreciate you taking the time to respond, letting us know when you're going to be here and not be here, and we understand there's time constraints, especially during the summer, but we do appreciate the time that you've taken to be here. So, Commissioner Johnson, do you have anything you'd like to add?
The one thing that comes to mind is where I'm thinking that the board may go along with the increased millage tentatively in July, because that's an easy thing if you don't have to do it in September. I think that the vote in September is going to be influenced by the people that show up at that time, and they want to consider attending or trying to encourage others to communicate with the board. The special association didn't have an official vote on that increased service. It's probably easier to vote for increased membership or increasing the service. And I think I did a quick calculation. If we have a $100,000 home, the additional cost is $1.95 per year. So that's $200,000 of taxable value. That's another, that would be a little bit more than $10 a day. So
You can't even buy a Big Mac for that anymore, so, yeah.
but it will need, we will need some support.
Well, and I echo Mr. Johnson. There are always numerous naysayers that turn out for the board meeting and speak at public comment. There's always less people who come to support things because I think they just expect that it naturally will pass because it makes sense. So if you're available, if you have time, if you would, please come out and support. Mr. Miller, do you know the dates of the board meetings?
Well, as Mr. Johnson said, probably, and this might make it better for your schedule, but there'll be a public hearing that'll be in the evening, or 6 o'clock in September. What are the key, let's see. September 21st. Well, we'll have another track meeting in August.
Well, and we'll put out an email, a reminder email, just so you guys, if you'd like to contribute, can.
Is the next board meeting?
Next board meeting is?
The next board meeting is next Wednesday, the 27th.
Yeah.
And again, we hope to get a number of dart riders to come to that, because we are excited to be expanding care ride service.
Absolutely.
What time is it?
Starts at 9 in the morning. And public comment is always first, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
Free coffee.
No, there's no free coffee. That's
free-
the worst part.
free coffee.
Oh,
Coffee.
free coffee, yes. Apparently there's cookies after that, or not.
Have something healthy.
Oh my goodness, in the morning, no
I think
less.
there's going to be some kind of dessert.
Okay, in the
It's not
morning.
a sugar arrangement thing.
Anything you would like to add, Mr. Miller?
I would like to thank Chair Mann for helping us with the Dunedin changes.
Certainly.
She had a lot of great input, and I appreciate her time.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are yours. Like this. We got
Thank you.
All right, I think we're dismissed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Stay safe and dry out there.
Thanks, Carson. Are you doing anything tomorrow? You want a free lunch? What? You want to come to the
I thought there ain't no
Dawn
such thing as a free
Cesar
lunch.
Hotel?